all right. What's going on, folks? And welcome here to Expanded Perspectives. With me, Cam Hale, and joining me as always, sitting across the table, the Channing Tatum to my Jonah Hill, Mr. Kyle Filson.
How's it going out there, everybody?
Philly, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great.
Man, oh man, we've got lucky. We've got a little rain. It's kind of cooled off.
Yeah, not as much as I'd like, but yeah.
Yeah, the gods have smiled on us once again.
It has been a very calm summer down here in Texas. Yeah. Hasn't been near as hot as it normally is.
Not complaining, folks. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful Monday morning. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. Kyle?
Yeah?
I don't know if you saw in the news, my brother, but there's something that caught my eye, and I'm sure it caught yours. Did you see the thing about the military robotics? We finally got somebody that agrees with what you and I were talking about.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm with you. I'm glad that someone is agreeing with us and following our lead and saying, look, man, we cannot continue to build these autonomous self-killing robots that DARPA and everybody is dead set on building. I think it was a Canadian-based company called ClearPath Robotics, and they've pledged its support to the international campaign calling for a ban on fully autonomous weaponized robots. In a press release, the ClearPath CTO and co-founder Ryan Garapi explains why his company signed onto the campaign to stop killer robots.
I'm signing that if I get a chance. I don't want that going on.
Yeah, I mean, I quote here. He says, for a preemptive and comprehensive ban on the development, production, and use of fully autonomous weapons, also known as lethal autonomous robots. This technology has the potential to kill indiscriminately and to proliferate repeatedly early prototypes that already exist. Garapi wrote, despite our continued involvement with the Canadian and international military research and development teams, ClearPath Robotics believes that the development of killer robots is very unwise,
You think?
unethical, and should be banned on an international scale. I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Garapi. I mean, that's my whole problem is thinking that we can control it. I mean, yes, we have a good grasp on it now.
Yeah.
But could that very easily be uncontrollable? I mean, we've had really good control over nuclear reactors, like in Fukushima or Chernobyl. But what happened? It got out of hand. Exactly. When it went out of hand, boy, problems come up really quick. And if you got killing autonomous robots and you purposely make them hard to destroy, I mean, you could have a real problem on your hands.
Well, and my thing is still this, is, you know, what they're discussing is the autonomous is, he's leaving out a key part is, I think he's leading more towards the fact of artificial intelligence, more towards the fact of it being 100% controlled by a computer and has nothing to be controlled at all by a human being.
Yes, totally autonomous.
You know, totally 100%. And look, man, I would say Google cars. I don't want this to blur over into those lines. I like the idea of an auto drive car. I like the idea that I can get in something and you can go down the road and it be 100% safe. You can multitask. You can do your work. If you're tired, if you're on vacation, I mean, it can.
You're drunk.
If you're drunk when you leave somewhere, exactly. You know, I mean, yeah. If you want to take a vacation with your family and you know nobody really wants to drive and the kids and all that stuff, you can all watch a movie together while this totally autonomous car drives you to your vacation point.
Well, I mean, like, you know, they say, well, I'll send you a car. I mean, literally, I could send you a car. You could have an automated car drop you off at the airport and then pick you up at a designated time when you're back home.
Yeah,
all those things are great. Well, but they don't have weapons on them.
No, well, and I don't want this to bleed over into that, to stop technologies in another area. What I want to make sure is that they do look at the fact, I mean, like you said, we've already got drones, we've already got things like that, but there's something about the fact that even if you put a human being behind the controls, whether or not it's, you know, in the vehicle, I know that I would act differently in a vehicle as I would if I was holding on to a controller. And it's almost like you can draw that line, and I think that that's what they're pointing at more than anything, is drawing the line to where it's easier to take a human life. It's easier to create mass destruction when you're sitting behind a computer screen. I mean, just look at the trolls you get online. Look at the things that people say to one another with some silly name that they have for a screen name. If they're willing to do that, then there's plenty of people out there that are willing to blow up a school or someone's church just through the video camera lens. So, I mean, I'm not sure that it's the right thing to totally ban all autonomous. You know, even in military, I'm not sure it's the right thing to totally ban complete autonomy, because there's people themselves still do evil things, in my opinion, that it could bleed over into this. I don't think it's a black or white issue. I think it's a case by case issue when it comes to this. But I do like the fact that it's bringing more light to the situation, that there's already got other people saying, hey, look, let's not just make it all completely that way and walk away from it.
Well, I think the autonomous computer-driven weaponized robots, whether they're drones or actual foot soldiers or whatever the case is, I think it's complicated. I think there's pros and cons. The pros are a computer isn't going to make a incorrect, rash decision based on stress while under fire. You know, they always say every fighter's got a plan till you get punched.
Yep.
You can have all the plans you want to, but once the firefight starts, you're going to start making some critical errors sometimes just because of the terror, the stress. So in that sense, an automated computer robot, that would be good to have something like that. But then also on the other side, computers don't have compassion like a human being would, where you might see that's an enemy, but then realize, look, that dude's injured. He's no threat. There's really no point to kill him.
Yeah.
Or it's a woman or a young child. Is the computer going to care? No. The computer's just going to mow everybody down.
It's a number.
So it's very difficult to say. And like we said, I'm glad that this Canadian robot company is against having these autonomous killing robots. But the problem is they're not a big robotic group. I mean, unless Northrop Grumman or Lockheed Martin or General Atomics or DARPA or any of these gigantic Boston Dynamics, Google, any of these big corporations that are currently building robots for the military gets involved, it's not going to do anything.
No, they're not going to do anything about it just because there's too much money involved. The military-industrial complex behind it, they don't care. Yeah. They don't care if Canadians don't like it. They don't care if we don't. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
You're not stopping it. That's the scary part.
No,
it's coming. I'm sure there's some of it's already here.
Well, there's already autonomous gun turrets being manufactured down in South Korea.
Yeah, and I thought I saw something where they said U.S. Army Rangers will soon be deployed to war and will have remote control robo machine guns.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just like a walking machine gun.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we've discussed in the past. Certain things, like I said, I think it's good for certain things, and then there's certain things that...
Search and rescue, it's good.
Yeah.
Surveillance, I think it's good. I don't know about attacking. But, man, how can you argue that? If you have this group of Army Rangers goes in and they pull off a mission without a single injury to any of them, man, it is kind of hard to argue.
But it still makes me get that feeling, too, though, that they could possibly turn it on civilians.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Like I said, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I'm glad that it's drawing light, but I think there's more to it than just that. I think there's a lot more to it.
Well, I don't think there's any way we could stop it. That's what's the most terrifying.
Yeah,
this is coming.
This is coming, folks. You better get ready. Everybody better build them a little handheld EMP or something.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into how to build an EMP myself. Right?
Right.
Did you see this? Now, this is a neat story I saw in Ancient Origins about the archaeologist who just discovered 2 long-lost ancient Mayan cities in the jungle of Mexico. How cool is that?
I did see some of that. It always makes me think. We always hear these stories, these grumblings of these stories of pilots reporting flying over the jungles in the Amazon and all through South America and seeing these even possibly older pyramids and things sticking up above the tree lines, or they fly over and they look. But you're so remote and you're so far out, that there's really no way of marking it and getting to it. I mean, it would take weeks and weeks and weeks to get to it. So when I saw this, it got my heart racing. I'm like, it's old Indiana Jones stuff.
Right? Yeah, that's exactly what you think of. It says here that the exhibition leader, Ivan Sprajek of the Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts, he explained that the finding was aided, like you're saying, by aerial photographs of the tropical forest area in the central Yucatan state of Campeche, Mexico. Some anomalies were noticed among the thick vegetation of the forest, and so the team was sent in to investigate it. And they were stunned by what they were able to find. They discovered an entire city extending over some 1,800 square miles. That's huge, right?
That's huge.
Can you believe that? Between Rio Bec and Chenes regions, which are characterized by their classic architectures dating to around 600 to 1000 AD. 1,800 square miles. I mean, that's crazy. Now, it says one of the cities had originally been found by the American archaeologist Eric von Yu in the 1970s, who produced records and drawings of the ancient Mayan ruins, but the location was lost. And all attempts to relocate the city, they never could find it. But now they've refound it. And when they refound this, they actually found another city that was previously undiscovered. So they've actually found 2. And that is incredible.
Oh, yeah. This is one of those things that, we always laugh about. Is there still things to explore? Is there still things to discover? And I think this is yes. I think there's a lot more of this stuff that's in the jungles down there that we could be looking for. It's just such a harsh environment. Yeah,
that's what's so cool is you're 100% right. You can still find stuff even to today. they found. And they said that they also found a pyramid. Now, it's not as great as the Great Pyramid in Egypt. It's only about 65 feet high. But they found one. They found a step pyramid, and they found 4 large plazas, stone sculptures, several altars, all engraved with well-preserved reliefs and inscriptions. So, I mean, they've even found inscriptions, which is pretty cool. I mean, they said that they found a hieroglyphic inscription dated. It had a date on it. It had November 29th, 711 A.D.
From the Lord of the Four Catoons.
Right? That's pretty crazy. Now, catoons, I think, are underground water wells, basically.
I think
places
so.
to keep fresh water. Kind of like having your own well, you know?
It's just neat that they can go in there and that they actually have some datings to give you some ideas of what it was. You know, now I know that they also claim that a lot of it was eroded. There were several parts of it that was extremely eroded. It was hard to read. You know, there were certain things, but then you can actually find some dates, which were really interesting. So,
yeah, I'm going to have to, in a future episode, really look into these ruins and see exactly what they have.
They excite the heck out of me. Like I said, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, folks, after the break, we got a really exciting guest we've been trying to get into. I hope you people are ready for some cryptozoology. We've got Mr. Albert Rosales. Now, Mr. Albert Rosales, he is the master of humanoids. I mean, he's got a website at ufoinfo.com. And it's called the Humanoid Sighting Report and Journal of Humanoid Studies. Now, this has to be one of my favorite websites as far as coming up with information or reading bizarre stories. I mean, really.
Yeah.
They're grayed out. Everybody is tired of the typical gray alien through sightings. And he has those. But what I'm most interested in, and I know people know from other interviews we've done with Ken Gerhard and Lyle Blackburn and even Linda Godfrey, who is going to be coming on the show real soon, I'm fascinated by all the other types of humanoids, like Bat Squatch, and I'm trying to think of some other ones.
The mermaids.
Spring-Heel Jack, mermaids, right, leprechauns, duendes.
Yeah.
I like all types of humanoids, and that's exactly what he specializes. Everything from shadow people to like we said, mermaids, leprechauns, just thousands. In fact, folks, get this. He says he has over 17,000 cases here.
And he's not updated yet. He
hasn't updated all of it. There's definitely over 10,000 on there right now. And, I mean, you can literally go here and read. If you're fascinated by humanoids like we are, or cryptozoology, you could read this every day for a year probably and not read all the stories. Yeah. I mean, it's the largest one-site spot I've seen that has this many humanoid sightings and reports. So we're really excited to talk to him.
I had a great time. And like we said, we get into a bunch of stuff. And there's going to be a surprise because me and Kyle got surprised when he starts talking about, of course, giants. So Kyle gets giddy in a minute. So we had a great time. So, yeah, we hope y'all enjoy it. And, all right, we'll catch y'all on the other side of the break with Mr. Albert Rosales. Everybody, we are going to be joined today by none other than Mr. Albert Rosales, what I guess I can consider him the king of the humanoid collection. Albert, you've done an amazing job with what's online, with everything that you have. Kyle and I have spent hours going over it, legitimately looking through all kinds of stuff and stories, and I've retold my daughter numerous stories like this, and it's just a real privilege to get to talk to you. How are you doing today?
Good, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you noticing my database there. I appreciate it, yeah. I'm doing fine.
It looks like it's a lifetime of work that it took you to put all this together. What kind of started you on the path to even wanting to start compiling all this?
You know that I'm not sure. I always been interested in UFOs and other stuff. Paranormal stuff. But I started by collecting UFO reports, local reports and worldwide reports from books, magazines, first-hand reports. By then, I figured that the important thing here was the humanoid, the entity report. So that's the important ones, I believe. You know, that's the crux of the matter right there. The entities, the humanoid, whatever you want to call them, that's the important thing. That's what we got to concentrate on, I believe. And I figure that a worldwide database of such reports, you know, even they don't have to be directly related to UFOs, but I said to myself, I need to collect these in a chronological order, and this is what I've done. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, maybe more.
Yeah, it's an incredible list. I mean, how many individual cases do you think you have?
I think right now, my last update and my private files here has been today, so I think got to be close to 17,000 cases.
17,000 cases. That is amazing. And I'm with you. I mean, I'm fascinated by UFOs and things, but I'm more interested in the actual beings that are controlling these things. And like you said, it's not always associated with UFOs, just strange entities people see, whether it's reptilians or MIBs or giants or gnomes or fairies. You have sightings of all types of these beings.
All types. I got mermaids, gnomes, leprechauns, reptilians. You know, I do have some Bigfoot. I don't like to get into the Bigfoot cases too much because there's so many of them. I only include the ones that are really height strange type, like the Bigfoot types connected to UFOs and some other type of Bigfoot cases, like Bigfoots that can communicate telepathically, or they disappear when you shoot at them, you know, stuff like that. But I have all kinds of entities, what have you, in there.
Yeah, and what I like about your list is it's compiled chronologically, starting back from like 1870 all the way to 2014. You can go through there year by year, and also you have a classification system that you've developed. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
This is an old system. They have updated. It's been updated, but I still use the old system. It's as the Close Encounter of the Third Kind system, which they have Type A, which is an entity seen on board a UFO or a craft, either on board or on top of a UFO. And then you got Type B, when they see entities coming out of a UFO or a landed craft or what have you. And then Type C, when you see there's a UFO nearby, and nearby there's an entity or a humanoid. They don't see it directly go inside the UFO, but they're in the immediate vicinity. And then you have Type D, which is kind of let's say there's a UFO flap in the area, and then there's an entity seen without a UFO, but it's seen somewhere in a field or whatever, what have you, and that's a Type D. It's indirectly connected to a UFO.
Right.
And then you got Type E, which is, I think, the largest group that I have, is entities seen not directly connected to UFOs or seen anywhere, inside your bedroom and in the yard or in a field or anywhere. These are lone humanoids. And then I added Type G is when there's an abduction reported, when entities are reporting during an abduction report. Somebody's either abducted or invited on board a UFO. Then I added Type H, when that's supposed to be a crash retrieval of an object or a humanoid. Type F, with some kind of psychic ingredient to the incident or to the report. And the latest one I have is Type X. Well, I made that one up. Is a case that is so weird or so strange that I couldn't really put it in with the other ones. I had to make it their own classification. It's so strange. A very high strange case. Doesn't necessarily mean there are humanoids involved, but very weird case.
Yeah, well, that's what I like about the classification system, too, is when you have such a large list, when you're scrolling through there, you can kind of pick which ones you're most interested in, whether it's just lone humanoids that have been seen, or like you said, people actually being abducted. or anything like this.
Right.
And I like that the list, I mean, I was reading some just the other day, just back here in 2014 from like January. A young girl had saw a bright light outside, looked like lightning, but there was no storm. Then she saw it again, and I guess her boyfriend or husband was out of town. She said she heard something in her room, and she pulled up her cell phone, snapped a photo, and then fell right back asleep. And she never thought about it again until the next morning. The next morning she wakes up, looks at her phone, and there on the phone is a picture of like a typical gray that was in her room, I guess. And that is crazy. And that just happened in January.
Yeah, well, so far for this year, I have, I would say here, and looking at my 2014 file, I have over 50 cases already.
Yeah,
Man.
Already I have, yeah.
are any of those cases, Albert, like the Type X?
I'm looking through there. Some of them you could consider Type X. There's a couple of cases, very interesting cases, from Argentina, from a beach in Argentina, Necochea, in Buenos Aires province. This is for May. There are several people there have reported seeing what appears to be like a very tall, floating humanoid figure that he seems to go over the beach area and then disappears near the water, and there's a big light by the water and then disappears. The funny thing is right in that earlier in the same year in the same area, somebody took a photograph of I think there was family members on the beach, and when they developed the photo, there was an image of a very tall figure. It looked like it's standing with his back to the witnesses, and they didn't see it when they took the photo, but it's in the same beach. Now, let me tell you, the latest one that I have for 2014 is from Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I call a Type E, a bedroom visitation, where the gentleman is woken up by his cat, and he sees a figure that's all black, a black shadowy figure with a large head, but he has like green lights positioned around his body, green like LED type lights.
Huh.
And the figure just bends down and looks at him. He's unable to move. Most of the time when this happens, you're not able to move. And when you have some kind of visitation like that, you're awake, but you're not able to move. This has happened to me also when in my bedroom.
Really?
Well, that's just what I was going to ask, is if you've ever had anything personally happen to you after getting involved in this.
Yeah, I have several events. I wrote a little summary of them, and they're in the database there in the UFO info site. But one of them that I can remember most recently was I woke up feeling like in a terror. I was extremely, for some reason, I was terrified at something. I felt there was something in the room. Because my wife was asleep next to me, she never woke up. I looked next to me, and there was this like a black figure standing next to the bed. At first you always try to dismiss it. You always think that there's something that is not there, or you're dreaming of night terror. But no, I was fully awake. I was able to move though. I woke. I raised myself up on the bed, and I grabbed the pillow and I threw it at it, and it kind of moved to the side. And then it didn't want to get hit by a pillow, and then it sort of disappeared. And after that, I was just in a sweat. And the thing is, in that same room, I had seen other things. One time I walked in and there was something in the mirror. It looked like a figure standing in the mirror, and it was like sort of like looking out. You look at it, I go, what is that? And you look behind you, thinking there's somebody there, and there's nobody there. Then I looked again, and he was not there.
So it's just like kind of like the photographs.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I've seen this before when I was a child, and I saw something in a mirror. It looked like to me, the old Spanish soldiers, the conquistadors, with a beard and the helmet. There was somebody looking at me like that. That looked exactly like that, and he was looking at me, and I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and the person, whatever it was smiling at me. And I looked at it, and I turned around. There was nobody there, and I ran to the kitchen, yelled at my mom, and of course she dismissed it. like most parents would. You think you're like imagining things, but yeah, and I have my my run-ins with weird stuff.
Well, I know that you get a lot of these emailed to you and sent to you.
Right.
Do you also get to go out and actually interview some of these witnesses also, don't you?
Mostly by phone. The only ones I could talk to them personally are the local cases that I have interviewed here in South Florida. I have many cases here which I have talked to. The most recent that I could think of is a little town here in South Bay called Homestead, just close to the Everglades. I mean, very close to the Everglades. A 9-year-old boy there. His father introduced him to me. He said, "My son here wants to tell you something. We're interested because we know about what your hobby is." Of course, my hobby. And I go, "Sure." I go ahead, bring him to me. So they came over and he told me that he was out walking his dog, and they lived in a very secluded area, a little wooded area there close to the Everglades. And he looked at across the street, and there was a man standing there that looked to be wearing some kind of uniform, some kind of maybe a little. He said he appeared to have a glow around him, and he had like a medallion hanging from his neck. But he looked human-like, and I just stared at him, and the more he looked at him, the more he said that the person or whatever it was who appeared to be trying to gain control of his mind, trying to manipulate him somehow. The dog didn't seem to react at all, so he just pulled the dog in and ran to his house. Now, after this happened to him, he told me that he had dreams about UFOs and his parents being abducted by aliens, but I don't know if I could really connect that to that, but he was very interested. I talked to him a couple times, and he seemed sincere about what he had seen. But this happened, a couple of years ago here in South Dade.
Well,
I went to the site. I didn't see anything, but apparently there have been other sightings out in the area of objects and lights.
That's one of those things when things start adding up like that right there. You said there's already been other sightings. That stuff really, that's that high strangeness cases. That's like, what was he? Doesn't sound like a normal road worker or something that you could kind of misconstrue for something when there's somebody standing there glowing.
It was like late at night, and they wouldn't have anybody working there at that time. And it looked like he has some kind of medallion around his neck or some kind of, he told me it looked like either a badge or a medallion, but it was glowing. And there was a glow around his body, but there wasn't anything around him that would be the source of that glow. It appeared to be just coming out of the figure's body. It was human shaped, normal size, but it was just strange. I'm here to. I could tell you that not all humanoids or entities are grays, like Hollywood wants everybody to believe. Like you guys could see in my database, there are all kinds of weird creatures out there.
For sure. Now I know sometimes it's easy to for whenever somebody just writes one up and sends it to you, because you can sometimes tell their stories aren't sincere. And I'm sure you've talked to people where it seems like sometimes their stories, it sounds like they're elaborating on something or pulling your leg. But it's also times like you talk to this young man. You can tell he saw something. You're not sure what it is that he saw, but you can physically tell something happened that kind of genuinely scared him.
You're right. Definitely, you can tell when the person is sincere or not. Or they're not trying to pull a leg. They're not trying to make something out for some reason. I had people trying to tell me. Oh my God, I could tell you stories, but I made a mistake once of giving somebody my phone number, and this person. This lady, she wouldn't stop calling me, and the first time I talked to her, I did try to listen to her, but then she told me stories that she was she worked for the government, and she was in a secret project. When they come up with stories like that, you go, "Oh my God!" And why did I give her my phone number?
Yeah, it starts snowballing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you could tell when you got people trying to pull your leg, or the people that are definitely crazy. Yeah, I had my share. I could tell. Well,
and then that also hurts the credibility of some of the others that will be coming in the future. I mean, it starts. There's no reason to spread this around as stories or fairy tales, because it takes away from the real work of trying to document and figure out what these people are seeing. Now, you brought up the government. Does any of these sightings that you've researched and collected, does it feel like some of these may be a government project, that they're working on something maybe for the military, like it's some sort of suit or some sort of creature or something, maybe not a creature, but a man in some sort of spacesuit or something, and they're just messing around? Or does this all feel I say all, for what you've looked at, does it all seem to feel like there's more to it than just a simple black and white answer?
Well, many of the cases that I have read or found, and this is from worldwide. I'm talking from Australia, Ukraine, Canada, everywhere in the world. I'm talking about everywhere. I have found cases in which there seems to be some kind of cooperation between the entities or the humanoids, whatever you want to call them, extraterrestrials, and earthly people, maybe government people, military people. There's a small amount of cases that there seems to be a connection. So either some kind of a cooperation for technology, I don't know what, but I believe that there might be in some cases, a connection between government entities and humanoids or extraterrestrials or whatever they might come from.
So it does seem in some points like that some of the people behind the scenes are working with these entities. Yeah,
I had personal involvement with a witness in Puerto Rico, and I talked to her. She said that she died maybe a couple of years ago of cancer, but she, according to her, at night, sometimes she will wake up at night. This is in Puerto Rico. And there will be somebody standing in the room, and the person will be a normal human type, but it look like a soldier dressed in a uniform, not an alien. And then she will hear this person talk appear to be on a radio or something. Then he will cloak himself and disappear. And according to her, it appeared to be some government manipulation going on, but. She couldn't. After a while, she got sick, and she passed away. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago. But there's been some cases where there appears to be some government collusion involved here.
Yeah. Well, and you had mentioned earlier that not only do you have sightings of the typical grays like that are portrayed in Hollywood, but that you actually have people that write in with, or that you interview about mermaids or even trolls or like duendes and stuff. Do you have any of those?
I could tell you a lady that I spoke to her personally about a report. This is a report I was going to mention at the beginning today from Ohio. This is from 69. Christine, that's her name.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into her last name, but she mentioned that one night she stayed home from work, and she had a cold. She was feeling ill, and had gone upstairs to her bed. And I sat down on her bed before taking a bath, and suddenly she saw across the bed in her bedroom a small entity, a figure about 3.5 feet tall. And according to her, this figure or this person, it was dressed exactly like your typical leprechaun, with a green hat.
Yeah.
Okay, this leprechaun, according to her, was dancing a jig. Okay, this is really crazy, but this is what she told me, and she sounded completely sincere. And this lady is in her 60s already. I don't think what she will make something this up for. She was terrified, and then she covered her eye and hid under the blankets, hoping the leprechaun will go away. She looked again; it was still there. Now the weird part here. After she waited 5 minutes, and she looked again, and this time there was something different in the room. It was another figure. She said the leprechaun was gone, but now there was another figure in the room, a 5 feet tall figure, and this second entity was dressed in a black hooded cloak. And she, at this point, she was more terrified than she had ever been before.
So it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah. And when she tried to look at the face, it said there was no face. All she could see was blackness. Where the face should have been, it was just black. Like, let's say, a black hole. She didn't see any hands either, and then she stared at it, and there was no communication at all. after that, for some reason, she just fell asleep and she doesn't remember the rest of the night. Now, I say to you, this is weird. Doesn't make any sense. But if you're going to make something up, what would you make something up like this? I mean, people, if you want to make something up about an alien encounter, you will make up something that you encounter a gray or a flying saucer in your backyard, not a leprechaun in your bedroom.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, weird.
Well, and it also seems like if you're going to take the time to make up a story, I know a lot of the people that are falsifying these stories seem to make it all about themselves. Like you said, they want to say that they're being approached and they're the ones that are special because they're
right.
When you have somebody that just says, look, this is what I saw, and then I went to sleep, woke up, and it was gone. I don't know what it was, but this is what I saw. It does kind of make you wonder, why would you go to the trouble to make something that up? She really believes she saw that. That's what she saw.
The thing is, this is independent to her story. That same month in Akron, this is Ohio, there were other reports of visitations, and this is people that I didn't interview or anything like that. This is from a book, an independent book written called Mysterious Visitors. That same month, there were 2 other encounters of not leprechauns, but this lady heard a knock on her door, and she opened the door, and there was a woman. This is her description. I'm quoting here. Superbly built young woman with deep chestnut hair, but there was no features on her face. Okay, it was just a blank face. And the witness, Mrs. Hansen, felt no fear. Let's see. She felt no fear and went with her to a black car. She accompanied this female to a black car that was parked in front of the house, containing 2 men who appeared to be wrapped in a gray mist, and took her to, according to this lady, to a spaceship. Okay.
Okay.
According to her, she was given the promised ride, and then the source really doesn't give any details beyond this, except that the spaceship was softly lighted and contained no visible seams or wells. Around the same time, a local handicapped boy also reported being taken on board a UFO and given a ride. This is from a book that I got from a writer, Brinsley Lepore Trench. This is a British researcher. Kind of weird story, but it's the same month and at the same city of where the other incident occurred.
That is a strange synchronicity. If it's that somebody would. What's the odds of 2 people making up a story? The same month, same town,
And the same city. And this is not. There was another one. About a week after that, in the same city, another person saw a woman. Again, she describes this lady outside her window, marvelously built. Remember, the other one was superbly built, I guess, with the most beautiful, long, dark chestnut hair. Again, we're talking about her hair, the same. But the woman had no discernible features on her face.
Wow, so the same description.
This is another independent witness. This is a week after that second incident that I mentioned.
Man.
Now, do you
I'm not saying it makes really no sense, most of these encounters, if you think about it. Why would so I don't know. I have collected so many, and I have read so many of them, that all I know is I don't know.
Yeah, right?
That's the best way to do it. Do you get a string like that? Like those seem to be the same few weeks. Do you have other sightings or other cases that are in certain towns? Have you come across this in the past?
Well, yeah. What I call localized waves of encounters. It happened with a Mothman up in Point Pleasant back in 66, 67. And you have the lizard man up in South Carolina in 88. It happened. And then and many other places, like up in Wales in UK, 1977, they had a grouping of incidents, encounters with different type of beings. It seems like they come in. Maybe there's an opening somewhere. Maybe a portal is open. They come in, they do their business, and they leave, and that's it. But it seems to be a worldwide phenomenon. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in my database, I have many cases from like the former, it used to be the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these cases are totally unknown to Western researchers, because I have my connections up there, and Ukrainian and Russian. And what I did was I sent them books, and they grabbed a lot of the local searches from the local groups, and they translated a lot of cases for me, and it was like an exchange of material information. And many cases I just translate myself from the Spanish and from the Italian. I can speak a lot of French and German. So
wow, yeah,
I do a lot of translations. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring up the Ukraine, because that was one of the ones. Like I said, my daughter loves mermaids. She's always, I mean, ever since she was a little girl.
Oh, really?
She's always. And the one of her favorite ones was the one from the Ukraine. I think it was in '91 that there was a man. I believe his name was, what was it, Steva? I forgot his name now. But where he was a band member. He was the lead singer of a group out of the Ukraine, and was actually swimming one evening in a bay.
Oh, okay. 2001, I believe.
That might have been. And that's when he saw like a mermaid. He said something surfaced beside him. He had normally made about 150 yards swim out to a little point and turn around and come back, and a dark-haired woman surfaced beside him that wasn't. He knew it wasn't human. What came up and all that, and it kind of freaked him out. And he said he swam away. And
what's in the Crimea?
Yes,
I believe. Let me see if I find that case. But after that, there's been other cases. The latest one I could think of is the one in 2009 in Israel, where they I can't remember the name. I don't have it right in front of me, but a port city there in Israel. There were many different witnesses that reported seeing a mermaid, a woman, blonde hair, in the water, and a lot of people try to approach her, but she will like swim away really fast. Half of her body was like a fish, and this is in 2009. I'm not talking about back in the Middle Ages where there were a lot of stories. And even the mayor of the city there, he put in a reward if anybody could catch her. Of course, nobody did, but this is from 2009.
I remember when that was going on, because I believe it was Josh Gates from that Destination Truth or whatever, that show that was on the Sci-Fi Channel, went down there and they were actually interviewing the guy that put the reward out for the mermaid being caught. I remember that now, yeah.
Do you remember? Okay.
Because it was a lot of that sighting, it got a lot of publicity that people,
a lot of attention, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because, like you said, it's almost like there's a rash of sightings. There's even one more that they were talking about that came from Peru, when you brought up Peru, that a mermaid sighting that had involved 20 school children that actually saw the same thing.
In 2007, I know which one exactly you're talking about. And Peru, this is on a freshwater lake, which you would think the mermaids out in the ocean, but no, there's been reports of mermaids up in freshwater lakes. The Peruvian case from 2007. And there were like dozens of witnesses. Like you say, school children and the teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's large groups of people. I mean, it's hard for me to buy into the whole mass hysteria thing of sightings of did you see this? And there's not some one person going, man, I saw what they were calling a mermaid, but really all it was seaweed, or all it. It's hard for me to believe that if it really wasn't
like manatees.
Yeah, it's one of those things that. A group of kids I understand, but when you've got students, teachers and educators there, and the kids are going, look at that mermaid, they're not going to go, yeah, you're right, it's a mermaid.
The thing is, there's no type of animal there in the Peruvian lake that will manatees I could see. There's manatees there here in South Florida, and we see them all the time, but they don't look like mermaids.
Right?
They're like 800 pounds, but. Anyway, I'm looking at the case right now in Peru, September 2007. The lake Quistococha Lake, and there were like 20 students that saw this. And the lady was the top half was a woman, a female, human female, and then there was a fishtail, the rest of her body. And it's a funny thing because if you read the folklore of the Caribbean, which I have. I had some of the books from Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Hispaniola, all that area there.
Mm-hmm.
There's always been reports of mermaids, or what they called it. They called it something else. They got their name for it, and I can't really remember the name right now. But there's always been reports of people from the sea. They call it people from the sea, that they live in the sea, and also in freshwater lakes and rivers. Now, maybe there's civilizations underwater in the sea that we don't know about, or maybe we know about, but only certain people know. Maybe the government knows about it, but who knows?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. Now, do you ever get any cases of people seeing dog men or werewolves? Do you ever get anything like that?
Yeah. Of course, I'm very much aware of the Michigan encounters, the Braid Beast Road. The Braid Road Beast, I'm sorry. And I had certain cases that have been reported to me directly. There was one case from Poland. This guy sent me an email. He's from Poland. And he sent me an email. He said he wanted to report an encounter he had with a strange creature. And I figured, okay, this guy wants to report a UFO and a human. And then I go, yeah, send it over. And he did. And I was very surprised when what he sent me was an encounter with appeared to have been a white wolf or a werewolf in Poland. And now, when you think about it, it's not really that strange, because in Europe, in the Middle Ages, that there were always reports of werewolf-type creatures in Germany and Poland and all that area. But he was out, and he saw in a field, running through a field, what he thought was a man, naked man, and he looked closely, and it was a figure of what appeared to be a bipedal wolf, almost 7 feet tall, running very fast, but shaped like a human. I had another lady send me an email, and I talked to her on the phone and this lady saw something like that, but in a city here and I think she was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and she had gone out with her sister. This is near downtown in the city in Indianapolis. They were going to go get some ice cream, and they were walking through an alley, and they saw a figure coming towards them. It looked kind of strange because it's very tall, and when they looked at it closer, it looked like a wolf, but walking like a man. But they noticed that his feet were like backwards, like dogs' feet, or they were not, and he walked kind of stooped over. Mm-hmm. But this terrified them, and then they ran and they looked back, it had disappeared. And this is in a modern day city.
Yeah.
Not out of the field. This lady, I talked to her, and she was very, very scared, and she wanted answers. And I go, well, I can't tell you. That's an extraterrestrial. I don't know what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Albert, do you ever have in any of these stories, have you ever come across somewhere it didn't turn out so well, where it wasn't just sightings, but it was like attacks, or where somebody may have seen something and then they found a body, or that somebody found somebody else dead in the bedroom and they thought they saw bright lights or any things like that?
There is reports of not directly to me, but I know reports of people being found dead after an encounter with either a UFO, or I know a report in Peru. In '68, there was this is how they reported it. There were two young boys, saw appeared to be a huge light floating over the ground, and they saw figures walking around it, little figures, small. They approached it, and that was the last time they saw them. Then they found the two boys that appeared to be dead. They appeared to have been burned because it was maybe the extreme heat. They were found dead. There's a report that I read, and Whitley Strieber, mm-hmm. He used to put out a newsletter, and one of his newsletters, he reports a case of a family up in Minnesota where they had some encounters, and they lived in a large acres, well, they had a lot of woods. Anyway, their grandfather reported encountering a little man, and then he went. One day he was seen going back to the location where he said he claimed to have seen little man. Then he was found dead later. And he said they had a little wound in his body. I don't remember where. But there have been cases. I suggest anybody that sees anything, UFO or something strange like that, don't run up to it.
Yeah, for sure.
You stay put, because I know many cases in which there have been led to severe injury or even death. Yeah.
Well, and you were talking too about the Ukraine when we first got off on the mermaids. Is there any links to some of the things that we see here that is maybe mirrored in the Ukraine, or vice versa? Do they see things that we see? Because, like you said, I know that before the fall of the wall, a lot of that stuff was hush hush. It wasn't really spoken of.
Yeah.
So, is there evidence over there that this is a global occurrence, or do they have some different things there to make you think that it may be some of the things they were seeing could possibly have been like? I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe brought on by the fairy tales or the stories that they were told as children, because I know sometimes those are the things that we think of are the stories that we're told of and we grow up with. That's sometimes the minute our minds jump to it, like we think of the elves or the gnomes or something like that may be called something else in another country, but they could possibly be the same thing when you really break it down and look at it. Did you come across anything like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of reports that mirror cases like in the Ukraine and in the U.S. and in Mexico. The same exact details, and you figure, how do these people will report something so similar, and they don't have no connection to each other? There's no way they could. I mean, I know a case that there was here in South Miami. This case was first reported back in 61, and this is a very strange case. A motorist, he saw like a huge cigar-shaped craft over a tomato field. This is down in South Bay before it was developed. A big field there, tomato field, and then he saw something like a huge elevator go down to the floor, to the ground. Big hatch open, and then there were some cars came out. He said the cars were your normal American cars, sedans, black in color. He said about 3 or 4 cars. And they just pulled up, and they got into US 1 and took off. Weird. I never heard any other case like that again. And then one of the cases that was sent from the Ukraine, it was almost exactly the same in the Ukraine, but this case occurred in 1990. And now there's no way that this person that sent me this case would have known about the 61 case in South Miami. No way, because I only had that in a newsletter here, and he didn't have access to that. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, the witness saw the exact same thing: a large object, cigar shape, hovered over a field, huge elevator thing. And then there were some cars came out, but the difference here, the cars were Russian-made vehicles. Okay,
so they can blend in.
Yeah, and then there was another case that was talked to me personally by the Spanish researcher J.J. Benitez. He's well known. He's written a lot of books. He was visiting Miami here, and I went to see him, and I was telling him about I happened to mention that case here in South Miami, and he said, "Well, I have a case from Mexico." And he didn't tell me the state, but a couple motorists stopped to see a large cylinder-shaped object hovering off the side of the road, and then they were stunned to see something lowered, and then a truck came out of it and just disappeared down the road. And this is from Mexico, and the other one's from Miami in 61 or 62, and the Mexican case was, I believe, was 80 in the 80s, 84, 83, and the Ukrainian case 1990.
Wow, so it's the same story almost spread out. But yeah, that is insane.
From different countries, from different locations completely, and there's no way that any of these people would have known each other or would have
no, there's no way.
the whole call each other, hey Pedro, or I want to tell them the same thing, but no, there's no way. Which, I don't know.
That opens up a whole nother can of worms with those stories, because then you start wondering, what were they doing? What are those cars? Where are they coming from? What are they doing? Are they blending in? Because that gets into that. I know some of the stories that you've had sent to you even talk about the hybrid looking people. Like I know that you get like Men in Black stories, but then they don't look quite human. They look like they're the hybrids. And that kind of makes you wonder, is that what these Men in Black really are?
Well, there's in my database there, and I have an article that I wrote. It's called Cosmic Cars and Other Roadside Encounters. This is about, I wrote a little article there about different encounters with what I call pseudo vehicles. There are cars, not really cars, on the roadway. And people have encountered what they thought at first was a car, but it turned out to be some kind of a unknown object or UFO that at first appeared to resemble a vehicle, but then they realized it wasn't. There's many of those cases. I'm talking about all over the world. Spain, Canada, U.S., all over.
Man, that is interesting. Now, Albert, with your huge voluminous list of all your sightings, whether it be Mothman, Black-Eyed Kids, Greys, Fairies, whatever, of all of them, do you personally have one that you like? Not the story, but a type of humanoid or entity that you prefer the best?
I'm
or most interested in?
I tell you right now, I'm always been interested in cases where people encounter giant type entities.
Oh, wow.
Or humanoids. And these have been reported.
Oh, yeah? Can you tell us about one?
I'll tell you, one moment.
Because Kyle's fascinated with giants.
Yeah, I love the stories of giants. That's one of my favorite subjects, is the stories with giants. I'm with you. I mean, like we were talking earlier while you're looking that stuff up, I'm the least interested in Greys. I like all the stories about the other types of entities people see. I mean, I love the lizard people or the Black-Eyed Kids. To me, that's far more interesting than just the same typical gray alien every time.
Like I told somebody comes to me and say, I saw a gray. I was abducted by a gray, and then another person will come up to me and say, I saw a mermaid in a lake in Lake Okeechobee, Florida. I think I believe that person with a mermaid more than the other one. But
and it's sad that it's come to that.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it has. But there's a story that it was sent to me by a Greek researcher, Thanasis Bembos. There's a case from August 6, 1978, in Greece. The witness was driving his car on a country road when he suddenly saw several giant humanoids.
Really?
He caught them in the light of his truck. Terrified, he put the car in reverse to get away and drove about 60 meters. When the engine stopped functioning, the lights went out and he felt like something was shaking his truck. For 15 seconds, he tried to turn on the engine, but to no avail. After that, the shaking stopped and the engine functioned normally. According to the researcher here, these giants were like what you call your giants. They were like maybe perhaps over at least 14 feet tall, human in shape. And there's also that same year. There were reports of giants in England, 78, in West Yorkshire. A husband and wife were amazed to see a giant. This giant, according to the report here from Russell Kellett, Flying Saucer Review, this giant figure was 30 foot high.
Holy cow.
And was standing among trees and then disappeared down a hillside. And it was at this point, after it disappeared over the hillside, there was a very bright silver blue light that flashed above the area, and the figure disappeared. I know of another case in Brazil in 58, two hunters. They saw two giants. When they say giants, they were like over 12 feet tall, dressed in red, tight-fitting, shiny red coveralls. They were like walking down up a hillside. I'm always been interested in that because everybody seems to think that all the aliens or the entities are little gray men, which is not the case.
Yeah. That's me, man. I'm always more fascinated with the other types of humanoids than the typical gray. I'm kind of burned out on that.
Yeah, me too.
A 30-foot tall giant. You see, I'd be
30 foot tall. Yeah,
I'd be terrified.
I know. Yeah. There's another case from Spain. A guy walking down on a road by the ocean, near the ocean, and he came up again. There was a figure standing on the side of the road. According to this guy, this figure was close to like maybe 14 feet tall. And you could see he was wearing some kind of green uniform, tight-fitting coverall, but he couldn't see the face because he was so high up. And according to this person, this happened in '64. The figure spoke to him in Spanish, I guess, and asked him what did he do and what was the area. And he asked him about any locations of industry in the area and stuff like that. This is from a report given to me by the Spanish researcher J.J. Benitez.
Wow. And just like we were saying earlier, I mean, that's such a bizarre story. Why would somebody just make that up, you know? That they saw a giant and was asking about industrial areas and where he was at and stuff. That's just bizarre, right?
Right.
And what did he do? And the witness was so stunned, or so all he can do was just answer his questions. He don't well, and then
the giant was just making small talk, wanting to know where the good fajitas were. That's all it was.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, who makes a story like that up? I mean, really, if you're going to make one up, you're going to really make one up. You're not going to go, I talked to a 14-foot tall man on the side of the road one night, and he just wanted to know, where the best industrial park was and what I did for a living. And then I was just like, all right, man, thanks for the chat. And then that was it. I mean, I can think of a much better story I would make up if I was going to make up talking with a giant.
Yeah, really. And, it makes you think, I go.
It does, and that's what's so great.
My theory is that there's many other dimensions that surround us here in planet Earth and where we live here in our realm. And sometimes there's maybe gateways or portals that open, which allow certain entities to come in and visit us for a while, and then they leave. I don't know, but I'm not saying that there's no extraterrestrials visiting us either. I think that's also a possibility. Maybe there's a combination of both.
Now, Albert, I know that that I would love to tell the people if they have any crazy sightings to send them in and all that, but I saw that this is your last year. You think you're done. You've collected so much stuff now. It's just one of those things. It's just it's too tough to keep going. So it seems like you're going to go, look, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I think I've done enough, but I'm always welcome. I always welcome new stories and new reports. So you can give them my email and tell them to go check my report there, UFO Info. I'm hoping to update the whole database again in a couple of months.
I think you've done more than enough.
Well, believe it or not, there's like at least 500 new cases I want to add.
Man.
Yikes.
Yeah, and I mean, we know that you've done the work. The work is impressive. It's long and lengthy, and I really appreciate your open-mindedness to it. That's what we like about it the best. We're kind of open-minded like that, too. I love the fascinating stories. Hey, look, how do I know these people didn't see these things or not? That's why I like to listen to them. I like to read them. I'm so glad that you've put such a large list on the internet for everybody to look at. And even if you do decide to retire and not add any new stories, I hope you keep it up for a while because, man, there's a lot of interesting reading there.
Oh, I hope it is. I hope people do read it and maybe they learn something from it. Maybe in the future somebody is able to use that information. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I think it's going to come in handy for everybody. I mean, anybody that has any kind of questions, this is the greatest website to go and look at a mass collection of all of this stuff.
I have people telling me that they sat there and they couldn't stop reading it.
Yeah.
I've been that guy.
I've been that guy.
They were upset with me because they couldn't stop reading it.
this is Brian again in Phoenix, Arizona. Just wanted to call in and say I love the Elite podcast. I'm glad you guys put it out there. It's only $5. Who wouldn't want to subscribe to that? I mean, that's a large pizza. It's not ready. But I love you have so many different topics and directions that you go. It's not all, not all this, not all that. You get into history, you get into the paranormal, you get into everything, and I love the show, and now it's just all that much better having the Elite podcast. So a whole separate show coming out on Thursdays. I can't get enough of it. I love the chemistry that you guys have, and everybody out there listening, all I want to say is get on Elite. It's just a great trip, and these guys are great, and I can't say enough good things about it. So keep up the good work, guys. Everybody who's not elitist yet, come on, get on board, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much, brother. That was really awesome. And folks, he's right. If you haven't already heard, most of you have, we do have an Elite show, which is an extra show per week.
That's right.
And we're coming up on the third one that we're fixing to put out. So if you're interested, the last few that we've done, I'll give you a few hints of what was on it. We talked about Father Crespi and the Metal Library. We talked about some time distortion devices. We've talked about some USO undersea objects.
Yeah.
Strange things and some abductions that happened with them, stuff like that. So, folks, like we said, it's $5 a month or it's $55 a year. You're going to get another show every Thursday, and we're not limited to. We know there's extra Thursdays in the month, more than 4. We're doing a show every Thursday, so you'll get a free show on Monday. You'll get another show every Thursday. You can go to the website at expandedperspectives.com. Up in the right corner, you'll see it. It'll say right there. You can click on it, and boom, you'll be part of the club. You'll be part of the elite.
That's right, man. You don't want to miss out. Yeah, well, if you're interested in that interview we did with Albert Rosales, and you would like to read his stories, that's at ufoinfo.com, and just click over on the research tab, and then scroll down, and you'll see the Humanoid Sighting Reports and the Journal of the Humanoid Studies. If you have any stories that you would like to share with Albert, you can email him at Garuda, that's GARUDA 79 at att.net. Or if you go to the website, you'll see his email. And, of course, I will put it in the show notes.
Yeah, right on. Folks, if you want to call the show, our number is 817-945-3828. You can call and drop us a line if you've got any, even if you've got any hints about somebody that you might want to hear us do an interview on the show, or if you yourself have written a book or something you might want to try to get out and whatnot, hit us up. You can send us an email at expandedperspectives@yahoo.com. You can call the show, all the originals, and like we said, you can rate and review us on iTunes or any of that. You can find us on Facebook. You can find me and Kyle on Facebook. We're on Twitter.
Yep.
We always said we're always there, so y'all can hit us up. So that's about all I got, man.
That's right, man. This was fun. Everybody, I hope, has a good week this week at work. And if you're on the Elite show member, then we will see you on Thursday.
That's right. Everybody stay safe. Tell somebody that you love them. Give them a hug. And we'll talk to y'all later. Be careful.
Peace.